We're just months away from the Chicago Bears making a franchise-changing decision. The Bears will be on the clock. You see it here in April with the first overall pick, and according to our Ryan Harris, you see it right here, they're going with Caleb Williams. The only problem is they have a quarterback by the name of Justin Fields, so a lot of people thinking that it will be Caleb and Justin out the door. Will it happen? We don't know. However, our Jonathan Jones catching up with Ryan Poles, the GM for the Bears, earlier today, talking about Fields and the moves when it comes to the Bears.
Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports, alongside who has been termed the busiest man at the Combine, Chicago Bears general manager Ryan Poles. Ryan, are you in fact the busiest man at Indianapolis' NFL Scouting Combine?
I'm pretty busy.
Yeah?
Pretty busy. But we're managing it well and enjoying the process.
Well, obviously you're busy because you all own the #1 overall pick. You have a fantastic young quarterback in Justin Fields. You have the ability to draft a quarterback in April's draft. You have always been really transparent with Justin.
Yep.
I remember last year you were talking about how you let him in and saw the draft board and kind of kept him involved in the process.
Yeah.
Why has that been the path that you've chosen? Why is that the right path with the young quarterback Justin Fields for you?
Yeah, I think it's trust. There's got to be a trust there. There's got to be a relationship there between the organization and your quarterback. It's a quarterback-driven league, and you want them comfortable understanding, the reasoning of why you do what you do, building a roster. Because then they have clarity, right? And that's what makes this situation difficult, right? So we're trying to be as clear and honest as we can in terms of, what we're looking at doing, timelines. So we've done that. We've been in contact with his team, and we'll continue to do that as much as we possibly can.
Are those daily updates? I mean...
Well, really, everyone expected me to show up here and have some plan in place of exactly what we're going to do, and there's just so much information for us to gather, and some of it's out of our control as well. So that makes it really difficult in terms of putting actual timelines together. But like I said, you want to be absolutely transparent with these guys and let them know where they stand. I know living in Gray is a very difficult place for anybody.
Yeah.
And he means a lot to us, means a lot to me in the way that he's carried himself and led over the last 2 years. Things have not been easy, especially that first year. He's continued to improve too. So I got a lot of respect for Justin. I'll continue to have respect for him, and I always want to do right by him as we go through this process.
And so in this process, and let's sort of play out the scenario here where you guys ultimately do trade Justin, because him staying and you doing some of the #1 pick, I think that one's an easier scenario that we can envision. Mm-hmm. What is that process? What does that process look like in trading Justin to a team that wants him? Like, how do those conversations take place with other teams here at the Combine?
Yeah, so, really, my expectations are when we get to the Combine, some of those conversations will pop up. I know in the past few weeks, some people have kind of poked around kind of my outer circle, nothing directly with me. But really, until those conversations happen, it's hard to say.
Sure.
But we're going to be open-minded and listen, and then I'll sit down with my team and we'll kind of put it on the table and say, what's the best direction for the Chicago Bears? And what we always do is throw that against our mission statement, which is to be a championship caliber team and sustain success for a long period of time. So that's how we'll handle it.
You talked about not wanting to live in the gray.
Yeah.
You probably don't want to be in the gray very long. What's the balance of having clarity on the situation, working through it quickly, but also doing what's best for the Chicago Bears and getting, let's say, the correct compensation for the moves that you make? Yeah,
I think that's where, as a front office person, there's a little bit of feel to it, a little bit of instinct. It helped us last year, and that outcome was really good for us, and I think it really moved the needle for our team, and will continue to do so as we move forward. So I do believe that that's kind of like that gut instinct in terms of timing and what's good for the organization at that time.
When you meet with the quarterbacks here during formal interviews, what's something that you want to learn from them? What's something going into this that you need to hear, that you want to hear from them?
Yeah, really it's dependability. I think that's one thing we don't talk about enough is dependability. Can you trust that person to be at the lead table of your roster and your organization? Because I feel like that's one of the more important factors. The other thing is how you lead, and really it comes down to, like, in 20 minutes it's hard to really get to the very bottom of everything. So I just want guys to be authentic and be themselves, so you get an understanding of what the person's like on a daily basis. So it's not a ton of time, but I think you can start putting little pieces of the puzzle together with some of the interviews that you get here.
Have you gotten to know, I'm going to say his name, have you gotten to know Caleb Williams at all through this process?
Yeah, so our scouts have done a fantastic job out west gathering information, and we had our meetings just a couple of days ago. We finished up those, and they give us everything they have, talking to their teammates, talking to their coaches, their support staff, people around them. And again, it's just pieces of the puzzle you just keep putting down, and it should paint a pretty good picture at the end of the day. So it's incomplete at this time, but we have gathered some good information from our scouts who've done a great job this fall.
Everyone's talking about picking first overall. We're talking about it.
Yep.
You guys also picked ninth.
Yeah.
What are some of the deeper parts of this year's draft for you?
I really think this is a pretty good draft towards the top, which is good. The one that stands out to me is the tackle class. The tackle class is really deep this year. A ton of really good talent, guys that are young, they're strong, they're big, they kind of have all the measurables that you need. They play the right way, and that's a pretty deep class. So, yeah.
How much cap space do you guys have? 82, 83
Yeah,
million.
we're towards the top in cap space, yeah.
Man, what's that like with this young core, with these draft picks?
Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting pretty right now.
Yeah, the word that we talk about a lot in our facility is flexibility. In this sport, you always want flexibility because you really don't know what's going to happen. You got to anticipate as much as possible, but opportunities pop up, and you want to have that flexibility to continue to add to your team. But do it in the right way so that you're not hurting yourself long term. And right now we sit in a pretty good spot. And a lot of credit, Matt Feinstein does our salary cap. Through his leadership, we've really set this thing up nice for growth and, again, sustained success.
Jaylen Johnson.
Yeah.
Franchise tag candidate, but also someone that I know that you all want to keep around. What's the latest with where things stand with him?
Yeah, I've been very open about that. I have a great relationship with Jaylen, and we've built that trust over a long period of time. I want him here for a long time, so we're in the mix of getting that done now. I feel good about it. We've come strong with our cash flows, guarantees, the term of the contract, and I know all of those things were important to him. As I texted him, I can't give him everything that he wants.
You can't just hand over the contract he wants.
Yeah, but I can do some really cool stuff for him to set him up for life, but also get him in a spot where he can play free, be himself, continue to grow off the season that he had last year. I love the turnovers that he had that changed the outcome of games, and that's important to us. He showed that he can do that. He had leadership. He brought other guys with him. Tyreek Stevenson's growth from the beginning to the end has a lot to do with Jaylen. John Hoke as well, but Jaylen really pulled him aside and did extra with him, so you saw his growth. So I love everything about Jaylen, so I'm hoping we get this done soon. I'd rather not do the whole tag thing. I'd rather set him up for long term.
You like to move quickly and just like, hey, what is the benefit to that? Because sometimes there could be a drawback where everybody else, if 31 other teams are kind of taking their time, you have first mover advantage, but also everybody else sees what you did and can react to that.
Correct. I think, again, it goes to a little bit of instinct. You want to push when you need to push. You need to slow down, hit the brakes sometimes too. But when you start something, you want to complete that before you move on. And when you think about Jaylen's situation, I think getting that done earlier rather than drawing it out, for a long period of time and playing the whole, tag game thing really doesn't benefit anyone in this case. So, and the other thing too, it's about prioritizing our homegrown talent and taking care of them before we get into free agency, because then cash flows and things start to change a little bit.
Sure.
So want to take care of that first before we turn the page to free agency.
Well, speaking of moving quickly, you guys moved really quickly to hire an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Brought in Shane Waldron. What is this offense, whoever the quarterback is, what's this offense going to look like with him?
Yeah, so the one thing you like about Shane is his ability to tie the run and the pass together. Really like his background. Worked with some unbelievable head coaches.
Sure.
With Pete, with Sean in LA, and Bill in New England. So he's got a really good foundation, but a foundation that is really diverse in terms of how you call a game, how you lead. So with him, I think the ability to adapt to whatever talent that we have is going to be important. Establishing a run game is going to be important to whoever's playing quarterback, and I know that's a big part of his deal too. And when you're in Chicago and it's December and January and we start making this push to be a playoff caliber team, you got to have that piece, and I know that's at his core as well. So, and then on top of that, he's a fantastic communicator and teacher as well.
Well, the busiest man at the Combine. Thanks so much for taking the time with us.
Absolutely.
Ryan Poles, appreciate it.
You can keep up with the conversation on the Pick Six. The guys are always down there in Indian, keeping you intact with everything going. And we'll see if there's a conversation about Justin Fields. I feel like it's been one every week. But download and subscribe and listen in the closer we get to that draft and, of course, this week in Indy.